All right, welcome back here to The Hill on NewsNation. One of the big events in politics on this day was one that you probably wouldn't have expected, I don't know, a week or two ago. Kamala Harris, now as she's doing more and more media, sitting down with Fox News. And one of the moments for the sitting vice president has been a question that she was asked last week or so. She went on The View. Madam Vice President, what would you do differently than Joe Biden? She didn't really have an answer. Later that night, she went on the Colbert Show. Version of the same question, kind of didn't have an answer either. She was asked about that just a little while ago. Here was the vice president on Fox News.
My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. And like every new president that comes into office, I will bring my life experiences, my professional experiences, and fresh and new ideas. I represent a new generation of leadership. I, for example, am someone who has not spent the majority of my career in Washington, D.C.
Full panel back. Denise, Chris, Julia, Brad. Does that answer cut it? Is that answer going to play here these next 20 days?
Well, I mean, she showed us her cards when she cut and pasted Joe Biden's policies onto her own campaign website. But the only way that Kamala Harris has ever proven by her actions to be different than Biden is by being far more liberal than he ever has been. He's considered a moderate in his party. She's always been considered a progressive. And I think that her carefulness, what you're seeing, is really much more damaging. The way that she's approaching these questions is what's causing independent voters to choose Trump, because you may not like what Trump says, but at least you know where he stands. And that's why we're seeing this swing, the 7-point swing that we've just seen in the last month, where the momentum has shifted from Harris amongst independent voters to Trump.
You know, you got Democrats and voters, Brad, who still aren't sure, who is she? I know she's the vice president, but who is she? What does she stand for? And as that last little sliver tries to figure out on the left, or maybe independents, moderates who lean left, am I going to punch the ticket for her or not? When they see that, does that get her across the finish line with them?
Well, let me say with all due respect, we have no idea where Donald Trump stands on the issues. He changes them daily, not weekly, if not monthly, on everything from a TikTok ban to abortion, et cetera. So I wouldn't say that that's a strength of his. With Kamala, that answer was much better. You know, I think when you speak to values, you bring in more voters. To your point, I don't think the issue is that she needs to tell more about herself. I think voters know enough. But I think what she needs to do is say, where is she taking the country? Where are we going? What's the unifying vision we can rally behind? And we're ready to follow. Where are we going? And I think she hasn't done that yet. And I think that's probably going to be the closing argument of the campaign. I'm waiting. I'm hoping to see it, feeling it, you know, and I think once she can do that and give some more direction for people to go, I think voters will follow.
Okay, Julia, so a little bit of movement there to my presidency is not going to be Joe Biden. My presidency will be different from Joe Biden's.
Right. And, you know, obviously she's been asked this question in past interviews. What would you do differently? She's treaded this very, very narrow line, not wanting to necessarily push back on Joe Biden, but she wants to obviously present herself in a different light, talk about how she would be different. The one thing Kamala Harris, I think, has to be very careful of is not making her campaign so much about Donald Trump. And what I mean by that is essentially not, you know, her not constantly saying, vote for me, I'm not him.
Right.
I think we saw Hillary Clinton do that in 2016. I don't think we saw Joe Biden do it a little bit. Obviously 2020 was a bit of an anomaly.
But he was well known.
Yes, exactly. So she has to be careful to not do that.
So this isn't like asking George Bush, the then sitting governor of Texas, Chris, to name the leader of Pakistan, right? And sort of trip him up.
Nice
and
reference.
Gotcha.
Nice
right.
pull.
This is a fastball down the middle. Madam Vice President, what would your presidency look like? Is that the answer? How should she answer it? When voters hear that, I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but what do they hear?
It doesn't matter. So nobody expects that she is going to answer that question. I wish she would answer that question, but nobody expects that a politician. Donald Trump doesn't answer questions. She doesn't answer questions. Politicians don't answer questions. That's the deal. And when you're 20 days away from an election, you're not going to say, you know what? Actually, great question, Brett. I have here a chart of 47 policy initiatives that I want to lay out for you.
Right.
And let's really get in here on sugar subsidies. Here's what I'd like to do. No, you're not going to do that. It is about the point of this interview is to say, I will go into the hard place. I will go to the difficult place. And Bret Baier gave her a tough interview, right? It will not be said, right? Yeah, it will not be said that she's ducking the tough interviews because she went in and did it. This was not patty cake from The View, as you said. So she did a reasonably tough interview with 60 Minutes. Now she's done Fox News. And as you and I were talking about earlier, Trump did Bloomberg, and it was non-super. So I think a big part of this is to try to push Donald Trump out and make him go do these interviews.
All right.